We are live. We got a great podcast today. Got some great guests that I've known a very long time to break down the most. We got a great podcast today. Try to do this. You guys know the drill. I got to share this to my Facebook page, and we're going to get started. This is going to be a lot of fun. I got a couple buddies of mine, old fraternity brothers, and we're going to break down the Duke Carolina rivalry. So we are ready to. Just going to tag some people, and we are going to get started. Sure, I got Hovis and Self. Host. And we're good there. Hit my record button. And welcome to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Untitled Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, a.k.a. Super Terb, a.k.a. Coach Terb. And I'm back with, the Super Terb Podcast, episode 45, where we talk real estate, business, sports, and beer in the triangle. I started this podcast, like about a year and a half ago. And it's been amazing interviewing local business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, real estate agents, you name it. But today is going to be an awesome podcast because for many people that they may not be aware, Saturday is the Final Four, and it's going to be the first time ever that Duke and Carolina match up in the semifinals. This is actually the first time we've ever matched up in the NCAA Tournament, period. And I thought, what fun would it be to bring on a couple of my old buddies? I got one Dookie, one Carolina fan. I'm a Duke fan. We may have a special guest pop in while we're talking and just break down this rivalry. Actually, I see him, and we're going to be making sure we got Joe coming in. We got a guy named Joe coming in. That's all I can really say about that. But we're going to talk about Duke, Carolina, and what it means in this region and just break it down. But before I start, I am going to have my real estate update and something that I posted today, guys. I posted a video today on how being pre-approved is not enough in this competitive market. Sure, you're pre-approved. There's a lot of buyers that are pre-approved, but can you still buy in this market? And the answer is no. There's three things that you've got to follow to be competitive in this market. And the first thing after being pre-approved is you're going to be in a multiple offer situation. You're going to be in competing offers. If you're in a market where you don't want to pay over asking, don't want to be in a bidding war, this market's not for you. Two, when you get pre-approved, whatever that number may be, let's say it's $500,000, you need to start your search accordingly. If you could go up to $500,000, we don't need to look at a home a dime more than $450 because what it's going to take to get up to the purchase price for you to win. And lastly, the most important thing is due diligence money. In our state, we have due diligence money, which again is non-refundable money that you put down once you go under contract to the home. It's non-refundable to the seller. Of course, it's credited back to you at closing. So in essence, what you're doing is putting down your down payment up front. But to win, the minimum that we're seeing is probably around $20,000. We've had $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. So there's a lot of buyers out there, again, that are pre-approved, but may not have the liquid to compete. And if you don't have these three things along with that pre-approval, this market may not be for you. But in saying that, if you have any real estate questions, we'd be honored to help you. We want to help you accomplish real estate goals. Please reach out to me. That's what we're do this for. We love helping people, but we want to create the right expectations at the same time. But I'm going to take a quick break. That's my real estate tip. I'm going to come back on the other side. I'm going to have Donnie, Hovis, and a guy named Joe, and we're going to break down the Duke Carolina rivalry. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Untitled Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, a.k.a. Super Terb. And I got my guests, Donnie Self, David Hovis, and a guy named Joe. And you guys, look, first of all, I want you guys to go around, introduce yourselves. These are my fraternity brothers. We're going 2-on-2 today. We got two Dookies and two Tar Holes, as I like to call them. Of course, they'll have other things they like to say. And we're going to talk about this Duke-Carolina rivalry because for many people that don't know, I think they do know, unless you're living under a rock, is that Duke Carolina face up Saturday for the first time ever in this historic matchup in the NCAA Tournament to play the right. I think for many of us guys, we forget that even whoever wins, you still got to play for the national championship Monday. So I think we got to think. So you guys go around, introduce yourselves, say where you're from, and who you like, Duke or Carolina. Donnie, you start.
So do I have to tell you actually where I'm from?
Sure, for people out there at Apple Land, we're Spotify, you're on LinkedIn, you're on YouTube.
Donnie Self, you have to say it.
All right, so Donnie Self from the Gas House, Gastonia, North Carolina. Hovis, we're better than you.
Two Gaston County boys on here.
That's right. Awesome. That's right. No, Gastonia, North Carolina. Live just outside of Winston-Salem now. Proud Tar Heel, born and raised. It's all I bleed. Tar Heel, Carolina blue.
All right.
David Hovis. I'm also from Gaston County, tiny town called Cherryville.
It's terrible.
I've literally been a Duke fan all my life. March 20th, 1977 was the first day I was a Duke fan, the day I was born.
All right. And we have a special guest. I don't know what we're going to call him here. I said Joe.
Call him Jew, apparently.
Joe X. Joe X.
That's right. What's going on, guys? We're from Catawba County, and we all went to college together at UNC Charlotte, and big, huge Tar Heel fan. Been going to football games since I was a little kid, basketball games, same as well. And just the hatred for Duke blue has always been there. I don't own a piece of clothing that's dark blue. I don't own a piece of clothing that's red, only light blue. Color of the beautiful sky.
All right, so I'm going to go around. I got questions, and we, of course, have some banter. There's no rhyme or reasons. I did go over the game rules. I'm probably cussing, but we can kind of toe the line there. We're going to have some fun. So I'm going to start off with you, Donnie. Okay, so Jacob 5 years ago said, "Hey, Dad, why can't we root for both?" I said, "That doesn't happen. You got to pick one." Now you got state fans. We'll get into them here in a little bit, but I think you got to pick one. So I want to ask you, Donnie, first, what made you a Tar Heel fan, and what's your first memory? Like, what's the memory you go back, number one, to say, I'm going to be Tar Heel fan? Then I'll go around, let everybody answer.
It's a good question there, Super Terb. So first and foremost, let me just step back. I'm going to take control of this for a second, okay? I've got a quick story to share. So just
be concise, Donnie. Be concise.
Yeah.
Okay, by the way, Donnie never has quick stories.
For all the listeners out there, the four of us were in an original fantasy football league. Started back in 2013, 2014. And around 2017, one David Hovis here bailed out of our league. And it just so happened to happen about the first end of the first week in April of 2017. And I couldn't figure out what it was until I just realized that happened. And then I just realized that Hovis couldn't take the heat, and he had to get out of the league. So he'll tell you that he was too busy with his job and all that fun stuff, but that's the real story. But anyway.
Nice. That's nice.
First memory for me, national championship 1982, sitting in my living room with my parents watching the game. When Fred Brown threw the pass, I literally started jumping up and down on the sofa. My mom lost her mind because that's not what we did at my house. But she didn't reprimand me because it was a pretty special moment. As a 7-year-old kid, to be able to stay up late and watch the game, I'll never forget it. So that was certainly my first moment that I was stuck with.
But Donnie, also two players from Gaston County in the same game, right? You had Sleepy Floyd, you had James
yes, Big Game James.
That's right, big moment of pride.
All right, Hovis, your turn now. What made you become a Devil?
So another one of our fraternity brothers, Travis Dellinger, and I are from the same town, grew up together. His uncle, great uncle, his name was Max Crowder, and he was the head athletic trainer at Duke forever. He went to our church. He kind of helped mentor my dad when he was younger, and so that's why forever I've been a.
Who was
fan.
The first player you remember? Who was the first guy?
I don't know. I don't remember the first player. I remember my first Duke. I have two different memories. The first memory I have of going to a Duke game was in probably 1982 in Cameron. They played NC State. The only reason I remember that is my mom slid down a muddy hill before we got to the game when we were walking in. It's the only reason I remember. The first Duke Carolina game I remember is when Duke finally beat them in '84 in the ACC tournament. And my dad loaded me in our station wagon and drove around Cherryville to every Carolina fan's house he could find and laid on the horn.
I got you. All right, Joe.
Same thing for Donnie, 1982. Watching that game was just life-changing. And then obviously watching Michael Jordan explode into what he was as a collegiate athlete and pro athlete, just such a moment of pride. That's really when it started. But, listen, none of us went to Chapel Hill. None of us went to Duke. But at least the four of us maybe had a better shot to get into Carolina. Nobody from North Carolina even goes to Duke. It's Jersey South. So there's an attitude that's associated with that crap school. That
it's
always
still in the state. It's still inside the lines of North Carolina.
Shots fired.
Wait a minute.
Here we
You
go.
have your time. Let me have my time. You stop talking when the boss is talking.
I answered the question correctly. You're not.
Well, I always say that they just didn't. The history major department wasn't as strong at Duke than it was at Charlotte. So that's what I always try to say.
Amen to that.
I will say my best friend Whitney Horn went to Duke, and he was my neighbor, so I just kind of latched onto him, and he was a couple years older than me. Probably my first memory. I moved to Raleigh in '86 when I was 7. I didn't know basketball to save my life because I came from California, only did football, baseball there, and my mom was actually the one that made me go play basketball, just get me out of the house. And at the time, it was in the late '80s. Early 90s, and that's where my boy Bobby Hurley came into play. So everything I have or affiliated with is number 11. Just love their game. And of course, who forgets beating UNLV, the shot, everything about it. They were rock stars in that 91, 92 back-to-back seasons. I just always kind of think about it, though, is imagine if these guys actually stayed 3 to 4 years like they did when we were growing up. And that was college basketball. We actually could watch guys go through that progression. To think that Zion, Barrett, and Reddish would be juniors today it's just scary. But that's another conversation. But for people that are listening out here, they're of course going to get this podcast a week later. But here, the people who are live or watching here on on Facebook, what have you. I look at this game Saturday night, and I wanted it. I mean, we've been texting about it. I was trying to be cool. I text with Donnie and Joe through, and I'm like, hey, we had to win. Serves you guys, as I wanted this. After what y'all did to us that last game in Cameron. But describe people out there that don't understand this rivalry. Like, my son cries if they lose because he knows he's got to go to school. He's got to go to school the next day and have to fight people. So you guys just jump in there. Talk about it.
People say, fans of Michigan, Ohio State always say that's the greatest rivalry in college sports, the greatest rivalry in sports. Those two schools aren't even in the same state. You know what I mean? The level of excellence both Carolina and Duke have had on the hardwood to be 8 miles apart, you can't find that anywhere else. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry. And that alone, along with the intermingling of the students and the players and the hatred, doesn't get any better.
I would agree, Hovis. I mean, I was listening to an ESPN radio talk show this week, and the two guys were literally trying to get something to talk about in comparison to this rivalry. And, they brought up the Ohio State, Michigan. They brought up Yankees, Red Sox, and the when were they in that? Was it when were they in the ALCS?
03-04?
Yeah, when the Yankees were up 3-0.
Yeah, 03-04.
It was close, but I mean, that was as close as they could get. And there's just no comparison. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Same state, 8 miles apart. It's not even close.
I think to Donnie's point too, in college basketball or football or whatever it is, every rivalry, they play each other in conference play and maybe even in the conference tournament. It's very rare that they meet for the opportunity for the national championship. I mean, this is just absolutely off the charts. Never happens.
But they almost played for the national championship. If Carolina could have beat Kansas in 91. People forget that it's not the first time they're in the Final Four together. It's the first time they're playing in the tournament.
And the rivalry, even back, granted, I was young, so I didn't really recall the Carolina Kansas on the other side. But I feel like over the last 2-3 decades, the rivalry has just grown even more. And it's so good, I think, for sports. And I try to explain to people that, because I heard something, I think I was listening to part of the interruption or something, Mike Wilbon was talking about, people, I wonder how people are looking at outside of our region, outside of where we grew up, because it'd be like us watching Georgia, Alabama in the SEC in the national championship. But I think there's something more to it. I think Saturday night, plus it helps that we're the second game. I think it's going to break records. Now it's on TBS, but I think most people in this world have TBS now. I think the ratings are going to go off the charts.
It's probably going to be the most watched Duke UNC game of all time. Let's just go ahead and say it. It
is. And I think you couldn't draw it up any better. Because the way I look at it is this: you got Carolina. Obviously, they beat K on his finale at home. Didn't think they'd see him again, especially at this setting. We almost faced each other. Virginia Tech crashed the party there.
Let me say something right there about that, Terb, because I think that's one thing Duke has to guard against. is they can't think that they're going to make up for losing that game on Saturday night. That game's done. That game's in the past. You're not getting that back. So you need to be focused and keep your emotions in check.
Well, Kay's doing the best he can on that front, because I heard him talk the other day. He's just talking about this is another game to the ship, to Monday. But we're all human too. I mean, but I also think you're exactly right. I mean, I was texting with Donnie and Joe, before that game on that Saturday, and I didn't. There was a very good chance I thought Carolina was going to win because they were playing with house money and that whole hoopla. Coach K was losing his mind over all the distractions. The funniest part about it, though, is when they still had to do the ceremony after the game, and you just see smoke coming out of his ears because he was just like, I'm over this. But it's going to be something that's the other thing that I'm trying to explain to people is you're also going to be in the Superdome. So I watched the first game with Duke beat Carolina in Chapel Hill. Carolina missed a lot of shots early, a lot. Of course, they're playing very well now. The guard plays excellent. The forward, who am I thinking? Who's your forward? He shoots the ball extremely well. Boca, he's got to stay out of foul trouble. But playing in the Superdome, that's a different shooting environment. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to that. So with talking to Rivalry, is there any chance that you guys could ever think of converting someone to go to the other side? Like I tell my dad when he talks politics, my father. I'm like, Dad, that's like trying to tell Carolina to be a Duke fan. You could have like the most planned out argument, all the stats, the details. They ain't converting.
That's right. You're going to make a Trump voter a Biden voter and vice versa. That's just not going to happen. It's the exact same. Just like I'm not going to switch going to Bojangles and start eating at McDonald's. It's not going to happen.
I love being from North Carolina. So sometimes I wish it would just be easier.
Yeah,
for the states.
Well, like my mom the other day, I just want one of them to win. Like it ain't happening, Mom. Like if whoever
I don't want Carolina to win one.
No, you can't do it. I mean, you just can't because you got to go the whole off season hearing about it.
No, I mean listen, growing up, everybody used to say, if you're a Duke fan, I wouldn't pull for Russia or I wouldn't pull for Carolina against Russia, and Carolina fans have said the same thing. I mean, this is – you said it earlier, Terb. Did you say Jacob was asking about –
It was like 5 years ago.
No, son.
He didn't understand.
It's not
he's trying to learn.
Right.
Now, I mean, literally, he's hilarious because, I mean, I'm pretty passionate. Y'all know me. I mean, I have a hard time watching the game with my son. I mean, shit, it's 4-2. I'm like, son, there's 37 minutes to go. This game's going to come down to 2 possessions. Trust me. What's even crazier is I saw a stat. I think K is 50-49 all time against the Heels. And if you look at the overall stats, I think it's a separation of like 15 or 20 points now, and it's almost 500. It's absolutely incredible.
A couple years ago, or just last year, wasn't it? It was
dead
down the middle and even in points.
Right.
Yeah, I think
that's another thing that says all you need to know.
It's all you got to know. So Duke, I mean, so Donnie, what do you not like about Duke? Now you got to leave it to 3 answers here.
It's a short podcast.
Again.
Settle in.
I think a lot of folks when they think about the players, you think about guys like Leighton or Ferry, the Bumley brothers. But for me, it's when I think about players, I think about the guards. I think about Hurley.
Slapping the floor, you gotta love it, right?
I think about Paul.
So happy they did that the other night.
I think about Paulus right up there in the screenshot behind me, and think about Trippy. Grayson Allen, Trippy. I mean, I have no idea. But for me, it's always been the guards. But even above and beyond that, it's K-Rat. I mean, the guy's he's a putz. Can't stand him.
He's the GOAT, though. You got to give him a look.
He's a good coach.
This hyperbole's got the end.
Do that. He's a good coach. But it's all about him. It's all about the brotherhood. Listen, the family was here decades ago. The brotherhood is like the 4th generation of the family, and we have the family. We've been around. Joe, I think you told me 9 decades.
9 straight decades in the NCAA tournament. No other team is even at like I
Don't
think
you count champions from like 1924 or something?
That's right.
No,
Yeah, they do.
1927, 1957, 1982, 1983, 2005, 2009, 2017. You should be able to rattle these off.
They were.
2027.
I can. I can rattle the Hoopers off.
1927.
They were huge in 1927.
So Hovis, what do you not like about Carolina?
Well, I've just groomed not to. Number one,
No good reason.
I was raised right by my parents not to. But if I had to think of Carolina players that really grated my nerves, and they aren't superstars, and I apologize if they're listening. I'm sure they're good people. 3 come to mind: Kevin Salvadori, Scott Cherry, and Pete Chilcutt. Those 3. Just I don't know what it was, and the way Dean got all the calls that Coach K gets now. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. All
right, Joe.
All right, I'm actually going to flip it on its heels and just say, look, both programs. You got to respect both programs for the sustained amount of excellence. I mean, there's been a blip on the radar here and there. The 94-95 year when K's back was hurt.
He was hurt.
When
you seen the guy walk? Of course he was hurt. Look, you can't.
Yeah, sure, I believe it. And then also I think that and look, the Matt Doherty year or two, Guthridge. Again, you have one little dip here and there, but when you look at 9 decades of excellence on both sides, and Duke, I think had their prominence came in the 60s under Vic Bubas and those guys, but even then. It didn't stop. It's not like an NC State where you have one good year every 30 years and then you're, just then you're off to the desert again to never be heard from again for another 40 years. These are just year after year, and it's harder to stay on top year after year than it is to make it to the top. And that's where I'm always going to respect that about both programs. The rivalry is fun. It's fun making fun of players, but again, I think that I just have a lot of respect for both teams.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. But if I'm going to name, you said players I don't like. Yeah. I mean, listen, Luke May's shot versus Kentucky is way better than Christian Laettner's because he didn't stomp on anybody's chest 3 minutes before that happened.
He stumbled. We all know that. It was very questionable.
A stumble? What are you talking about? It looked like he's doing a leg lift, like he's doing curls.
I feel. You bring up state, and you got to wonder what state fans are thinking this week. It's like they're always, and the thing about it is, state should be a great program. Like I just don't get it. I mean, I understand Duke, Carolina, and the landscape of college basketball has changed so much over the last 2 decades with the one and dones or the high school. You're going straight from the pros and things of that nature. Once they went to the one and done route, what that affected a lot of people was the JUCO route. That's where Charlotte Coach Lutz really thrived, is he got all the top jukes in the country because he knew in state he had a hard time getting the top talent. But you would think state with the facilities and things like that. But again, that's a whole other conversation. But I just wonder how, what they're even thinking and who they're pulling for. I know a lot of them are
75% for Duke.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So as far as Saturday night, how are you guys watching the game? Do you got to be isolated? Do you have to be around anybody?
Well, Terb, months ago you called and you invited me to a hockey game.
That's Saturday. We had to veto that.
So Monday morning, sitting at work, getting my week started, and I get this text from Terb, and it's, "Hey man, sorry, bud, I sold the tickets. I'm not going." I
gave them to my partner. Actually, she's very excited. I was like, "There's no way I'm going during the Final Four."
It's probably a good thing, Terb. We've known each other way too long. Got it too close of a friendship to.
I always, obviously another fellow brother, Chris Beam, is in Raleigh. I always mess with him. I say, "Hey, what time do you want me to come over?" And he's like, "Same time, never." Because he's the one. He is instant texting any dismay that I have.
One time I watched the Carolina Duke game with Beamer. Actually, 2 times. The first time and the last time.
Yeah.
How about you, Joe? Where are you going to be watching it?
I am going to be out of town, but I will be with some friends who are neutral. So, hopefully these guys don't turn into, basic bitches and go, "Oh, who's that player? And what's their back?" No. Shut up. Let me be my neurotic self and get through the game. And I couldn't even drink during the games because I want to remember every play and talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I think what makes March Madness so awesome is like
I need to head out of here. But thank you guys. I just want to say thank you for the time. I got to run, but this has been great, and best of luck to Donnie.
Hey,
love you, Joe.
Appreciate
brother.
the support,
See you, man.
Joe. Be good, brother.
All right, we got now. You're surrounded.
Now it's 2-1.
Now it's
but during March, I think what makes March Madness obviously amazing is it's one and done. I mean, and so every possession. Luckily, we got by Fullerton. You never can take those for granted. We've been through the Highs, the Mercers. Ask Kentucky. With the power of the 3-point line, and if you have decent guard play, it just takes one game. And then, but the Michigan State game, I was actually happier. Duke played Michigan State versus Davidson because I just think it was a better matchup. And when I coached, I remember there was teams that I just loved playing that were very similar. And we just knew it was going to be muscle on muscle, and Davidson reminded me a lot of like Tech, a lot of movement and guard play.
They move a lot freer than.
And then Texas Tech, I knew it was going to be a fist fight too. And I actually have in Arkansas, but Texas Tech actually have a little backstory for you guys. You may not have been aware of this, but Coach Adams, who's the head coach at Texas Tech, I'm in his coaching tree. I'm in his coaching tree. He was at Texas Pan American, and my old boss that I coached with at Ouachita Baptist started his career at Pan American, and then there's an assistant now with Coach Adams. His name's Coach Cooper. He was the head coach of West Texas A&M, where Coach Shea started as an assistant. Anyway, so that was kind of like my family tree over there. So it was kind of bittersweet. Obviously, I was pulling for the Devils. I wish they could have played anybody but us. But Texas Tech was great. But I think Duke, when they went to the zone, threw things off, and they just had problems scoring. And then Arkansas, Arkansas is athletic. What did you think, Donnie, going in there against St. Peter's? I mean, I know I think that they missed some shots early that if they would have made, I think the game would have been a lot closer. But at the same time, that's still you had to be nervous.
I think there was a point very, very early in the game. We were up 4 points. And I looked at the amount of time that had gone off the clock, and I thought to myself, well, it's a really good thing they're missing shots because we're not hitting them either. I mean, we did not shoot the ball well, but they shot it much worse. I like to think that had something to do with our defense.
I think Baycott's size, and I think at any time those guys have to play absolutely perfect.
100% agree, and they did that for 3 games. But it going into the game, to answer your question, I hate to say that I was a little bit confident, but I kind of was. I felt good about the matchup. I felt good about the way we were playing. Just felt like we were on a roll, and if we did a couple certain things well, we would be fine. And it turned out that way. Very, very thankful that we got through it. Not sure how I feel about Saturday night.
Well, you're the guard play that was Love, and who's the other guard? I always slips my mind.
RJ Davis.
Davis. The guard play has been phenomenal the last 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know, probably after the Pitt game, and they didn't have an answer. And then as long as Baycott stays out of foul trouble,
right.
I think that's where Duke Saturday after last game, they've got to really have an answer for the dribble penetration and the high ball screen, because what they're going to do is try to take Williams away from the rim. And then they like that back screen action with Baycott and Manick popping. So, but they've watched a lot of tape there. I think one thing that we're all forgetting about is you have Nova and Kansas just sitting on the other side. What's talking about?
Kansas is in the catbird seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kansas has got to be in the catbird seat.
I mean, Nova lost to one of their good players,
second leading scorer,
and
then Duke or Carolina, they're going to be exhausted coming out of this game.
Right.
I think so. And then you only got the day in between. I mean, it's just like when Duke was able to beat Carolina in the first matchup, they only had 24 hours, really less than 48 hours, and Virginia popped them because you just think you're going to roll the ball out. But I think obviously Final Four is going to be a lot different and different environment. I just wish I could be there. I have so many guys Kershaw's there. He texted me and he's like, "I got a free room. You going?" I mean, a client of mine's going. Guy I coached my rec league with. He's taking his son. Of course, I told him, I said, make sure that Wiley has his beads ready, because I think we'll be off the street by dark. But yeah, so it's I can't wait. I'm going to be watching in my Panther room by myself, no drinking, obviously, with my challenge I'm on, me and Jacob, and just buckling up, man. Saturday's going to be a long day. It's going to be exciting.
Feel like forever to get there.
So give me the predictions. Give me your prediction.
I'm not predicting it. I'm a jinxer. I'm not predicting it.
All right. Well, what do you think it's going to take to win then? Obviously, besides scoring more than the other.
The high pick and rolls. on defense and ball screens.
And I think it's going to work both ways because I
hopefully-
think Duke's going to try to bring Bacon away from the rim, where you have Banchero trying to go against, because that's what hurt Carolina the first matchup.
Yeah,
Bacon
and somebody's got to make some shots. Whoever can make whoever's the best from outside will obviously have a pretty big advantage. But like you said earlier, you and I both played high school basketball at least, and even high school basketball, when you change gyms, that's the reason you have shoot around, right, to get used to the depth perception. And when you go into a cavernous dome like the Superdome, it's way different than shooting at Cameron. And I've always thought that might have been something that hurt Duke in the tournament when they started going to these bigger venues, right? They've been playing all year in Cameron, most of their games. It's a tiny gym, and it's just way different. It's more than just muscle memory, right? Your eyes play tricks on you.
Yep. How about you, Donnie?
That's one of my biggest concerns going into the game is just you think about the size of the facility that they're going to be playing in, and they're not used to that. What makes us go is you look at any of these games here lately that we've had success, we've had at least two of our shooters, whether it be Caleb Love, RJ Davis, or Brady Manick. Two of those guys have had really nice games. They've had really good games. When you see them have one of those guys have a good game, then we tend to struggle. So I think that's going to be huge. We've got to hit shots. I don't recall seeing a Carolina team shoot this many threes ever in my life. These guys are jacking up right and left. I think the dribble penetration, if Caleb and RJ cannot stand around out front, dribble, waiting around for somebody to move, if we can get that good first step, get around folks, and then penetrate, drop off to the big guys, we'll have some success. But I think one of the biggest things that's going to, if Leaky Black, he's the unsung hero for Carolina this year. I've never loved Leaky Black more than I couldn't stand him 2 months ago. This kid has become a lockdown defender, and I think if we can get him on Banchero and lock him up, I think we'll have a good shot at winning.
I said at the beginning of the season, and it's coming to fruition now, is for us, for Duke, is Jeremy Roach.
Absolutely.
And I told my dad before the year, he's the X factor. You look at every great the Devils team K's had, their point guard can knock down the shot and make plays when necessary. And last year and early this year, I think he was so in love with the three, but now he's got the confidence to get to the rim and make plays for other people. And I think he's got, the X factor. And then, of course, Banchero, he's really taken another step after the regular season. He's the best player on the floor, and they've got to have him touch it. And then you've got Griffin, and, of course, the rim protector. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I think the line is right on. I think Duke's still at -4, but I still think it's almost a pick 'em. And I know we're in for a treat. I hope that Kay gets it because it's the ultimate mic drop for the Tar Heels. So I think it's going to be awesome.
One thing about Jeremy Roach, though, I'm glad you said that. Every Duke championship team except one had a point guard that it wasn't a score first point guard. He was there to distribute and play tough on the ball defense. Only Jason Williams was a score first point guard that won the national championship.
That's kind of unique.
That's the kind of point guard that makes Coach K's.
They make shots when they need it.
Go.
Kind of like Michigan State. Roach hits the three, but that mid-range game. But again, he's playing with such confidence. You can just tell. And then they're getting back to guarding the way they started the season, especially on the ball. The 3-point defense. I think but then K's not afraid. I think they said when they went zone against Tech, I think they only ran zone 6% the whole season. So it cracks me up too when teams go zone, because when I coach our kids, I'm like, it's just a bad man, but it's amazing what it does to offenses. They just freeze. It's like, oh, what are you doing? So it's going to be great, man. Well, before we go, I always do this for all my guests. We got rapid questions. So this is going to be cool since I've got a couple of you here. Joe already stepped out, and then we'll sign off. Okay. So we'll go first. Donnie, favorite food?
Bacon.
Hovis?
Bacon.
Favorite food?
Wow.
Bacon.
Bacon is your favorite food. That caught me.
Bacon tastes good.
All right. Favorite restaurant?
Oh,
I'll go with the steak restaurant that I love here in the Winston-Salem area, Ryan's. Ryan's Steakhouse is fantastic.
I'll go with my little neighborhood sports bar, Harvey's, Huntersville, North Carolina. Shout out to Harvey's.
Harvey's, all right.
Arro's
In
barbecue.
my neighborhood. It's right in the middle of my neighborhood.
We're
Yeah,
favorite
Arro's,
bands.
yeah.
Favorite band?
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's tough.
It's tough. It's really tough. I'd say current band, Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. Big fan.
not
Big
bad.
fan of the guy.
Yeah, not that bad. The only one that comes to mind, and I still listen to them, but they're older. Of the biggest bands ever in the world, Led Zeppelin's my favorite. I've always been a fan of Zeppelin.
This is always a good one. Favorite movie. Now I know there's a lot of genres. The way I always classify favorite movies is when you see it on TV, satellite, whatever. Doesn't matter how many times you've seen it, you can start watching it.
Yeah. A Few Good Men, Pulp Fiction, 1A, 1B.
Fantastic. But
Yeah.
Few Good Men is the best.
Oh, that's 1A.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hoosiers and The Godfather.
Can't go wrong. Yeah, there's so many. All right. I would ask favorite sports team, but I figured we got that one out of the way. I know we're Panther fans, but that's a whole other podcast. Favorite cocktail. I'd say favorite beer. What's the beverage of your choice?
Love a good bourbon.
I like bourbon too, but I'll go vodka soda with a little lime.
There you go. Best place you visited?
St. Lucia.
3 weeks in Australia. Probably have to say that.
That's awesome. So where's a place you would want to visit you haven't been to? Where's your dream vacation or dream location, wherever? Dream destination.
So a week from today, my daughter and I are taking a daddy-daughter trip out west, going to Arizona, Utah, Colorado. I've been out there a little bit, but it'll be good she's never been out there. So
that's going to be awesome. What do you guys just get in the car and driving?
So no, we're going to fly out to Phoenix, spend a few days in the Phoenix area, and then we're going to head to the Grand Canyon, Antelope Canyon, Sedona, and then we're going to head up through Utah over into Colorado for a couple of days, and fly home from Denver.
That's gonna be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
should be a blast. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Honestly, the next place I want to go is Alaska.
That'd be cool.
I want to see Alaska.
Yeah, I've been there. That was a long time ago. It's great. I like these last two questions. They're always good ones to hear. One I've asked everyone. It's been on the Super Terb podcast, but Donnie, you can have dinner with 2 people, dead or alive. Who would they be?
It's easy. Dean Smith, Roy Williams.
Okay.
Can I have Hubert in there too, though? Can I have 3?
Yeah, but I'll let it slide.
Okay.
Hovis.
I mean, I'll do for the sake of this podcast, because that's mainly what's been on my mind. I'll do my dad and the GOAT. Last name starts with a K.
That would be great. All right, last question. This is always great. Best advice you've ever been given, and by who? I always get to. I always say whenever the Super Terb podcast retires, I'm going to go back, listen to everybody, and make a book.
You guys will appreciate this, and I wish Joe were still on because this is a topic that comes up with him. Everybody knows I'm a detailed guy, so my stories tend to get long-winded. I had a boss one time tell me, Donnie, I don't need the whole delivery, just give me the baby. So
I like it. I like it.
I had an old school NASCAR crew chief one time tell me, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough.
I like that. Who was that? Who said that?
Odell Lemon, only man to win 8 cup championships.
That was pretty good. Mine was from my old high school coach, Mark Miller, and I tell my son this every day is finish. If you start something, you finish. And whether you're making a layup, make the layup. Whether you start a job, you finish the job. How tough it is. If you start something, you finish. And I always think that's great in every day. But those are awesome. Any last thoughts for Saturday? This has been a lot of fun. When I thought of this idea, I was like, how much fun would this be? 1, for us to catch up, but 2, just to talk the rivalry. Who knows when the next time will. If you think about how crazy the amount of time Duke and Carolina have been in the NCAA tournament, that this is the first time they've ever matched up, it's pretty outstanding. It's crazy.
I don't think the I think the odds would have been not in that favor.
Yeah.
They would have never met. But of course, there's only been at 75. When's it 75 that two teams in the same conference could even go? So
Yeah, true. Yeah,
I never thought I'd see it. I wasn't sure I wanted to see it ever, but I'm starting to get ready for it now, to be honest with you.
Well, I think it's the end of it. Obviously, Kay, whether he gets another game after this or not, we're never going to see a run like Kay, Roy, Boeheim, the guys that have been there for decades. It just doesn't happen in today's world, especially for these old school guys with the transfer portal and just everything that's involved. It's just in social media. I always think about, I listened to Kay's book that just came out, and of course you've heard different stories. I mean, if he was coaching today, back in the first few years he started, he may not even have made it. Luckily he had an AD that I remember he gave him a 5-year extension in his third year when he thought he was getting fired. So he got
hired coming off a 9-17 record in Army.
Yeah, I mean, which you just don't.
That wouldn't happen.
You wouldn't see that in today's world. Donnie, any last thoughts?
It was great to send Kay out with a loss of Cameron. It'd be absolutely just epic to be able to send him into retirement in the Final Four.
I think I'll just have my phone off for at least 2 days.
I think, I think that whichever team loses, that fan base will go into hiding for probably not 2 days, probably 2 months. Well,
I don't know about y'all, but in your older age, are you not softening on losses now? I mean, it's just a basketball. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if Duke lost this game, I'd be despondent. But now it's just –
It all depends, though, what you set yourself up for. I talk a lot of shit. So if we fall short, it comes back on me pretty twofold. People are just waiting, but it's what makes it fun. It makes it fun. Yeah. I'm just glad that I when I did my brackets, I tried to do it with my heart, my brain, not my heart. And I didn't know if we were going to get past Tech. And then I had Tech.
I didn't have them get past Tech.
Yeah, so, especially coming off the ACC tournament, just the way they were playing. So the fact that they're able to even get there, but at the same time, there's a reason why people put a lot of money on Duke when they were 17-1 into the tournament. They've got the most talent, in my opinion, top to bottom. I mean, they theoretically could have 5 first-round picks, depending on where Williams and Wendell Moore and Roach could slip in. But, they've got the talent. Now it's just coming together.
I wish I had known before I filled my bracket out that Roach was going to be the starting point guard for the tournament.
Yeah,
we didn't know that until they rolled out against Fullerton.
I also would have liked to know that St. Peter's would be Kentucky.
Exactly.
My bracket was short-lived. I mean, like
mine, we could have known about. Yours, we couldn't have known about.
I mean, I was done. I mean, like I did 2 brackets, and it filled it out at the same time. I don't know how it worked, and I had Kentucky for some reason. I was like, Kentucky, because I was trying to think. Everybody picks Gonzaga or this or that. I'm like, what's the team? I know Kentucky was also one of the teams people were picking, but I was like, I'll just go with them, even though I don't like Cal. I mean, it kind of irks me, but yeah, then they lose Thursday night. I was like, well, this is fun. My Jacob, though, Jacob picked Duke in our bracket, so he's going to be definitely, and my dad, and then another friend of mine. So, but
I have 0 Final Four teams. I'm not gonna lie, I have 0. I have no problem admitting
I have 0.
I don't think I have. I don't think I have one either. So, yeah, either way. Well, fellas, I'm going to sign off here. I can't thank you all enough for coming on. And for everybody listening, if you like the podcast, please subscribe. If you're out there, you're a local business owner, entrepreneur, agent, you name it, would love to come on and tell your story. I'd love to have you come on. And, of course, if you need any help accomplishing real estate goals, we would love to have the opportunity. We'd be honored to help you. And, again, it's Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the United Turbot Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, a.k.a. Coach Terb, a.k.a. Super Terb. And as always, guys, remember, who you work with matters, and we'll see you next time.
Go Heels.
Go Devils.